What's good, y'all, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 5 FL Studio tips that you probably didn't know. So let me give a little brief disclaimer. All of these tips and tricks are not made equally. They range from problem solving to workflow tips to random useful tips and tricks that FL Studio has to offer. And speaking from my experience, I've used these tricks very frequently. They're a game changer to say the least. It depends on what game you're playing, but nevertheless, these tips and tricks that I'm about to show you will open up so many opportunities and so many doors and so many possibilities for your workflow, for your problem solving, or for those random features that you just want to show off to your buddies like, yeah, I could do this because I know what I'm doing. So let's get into it. Tip number 1 is creating an instrument track. This is a workflow trick, and I'm not saying that your workflow is right or wrong, but if you get jiggy with this tip, it'll help your production speed twice over. Oftentimes I watch YouTubers, Instagrammers, TikTokers, and they all either add their sounds by either clicking a plus button on the channel rack or by dragging a sample onto the channel rack. And while that works, if you want to switch your sounds up, you would have to create an entirely new pattern. Or if you wanted to add effects to that sound, you would have to route that sound to the mixer. Or if you wanted to arrange your beat, you would have to drag that pattern into the playlist. What if you could just do all those 3 ifs in the beginning at the same time, rather than having to do it later down the line? Let me show you how to do it. So in order to create an instrument track, you can simply just drag your sample onto the word track on your playlist. Any of the tracks work, but I recommend organizing your tracks however you want to organize them. And then it'll give you this prompt that says you dropped a sample or samples. So you could do multiple tracks at the same time if you want to, but it'll ask if you want to create audio clips, audio tracks, or instrument tracks. Audio clips will not route it to the mixer. Audio tracks are better for when you're about to record. And I'm not talking about like record MIDI, but like if you're actually about to record using microphones or using lines. Instrument tracks are what we are trying to do. This is a sample, and let me show you what it does when you click on instrument track. You see right here, it has created a pattern for us automatically. The pattern is named, the sample name, Polo Boy Shawty, PBS, clap, flex. I don't know why it's named flex. Oh, that's what the sample's named. At the top, you see the word flex. And it routed it to the mixer already for us. You see it's routed to number 2. So if we wanted to produce a lot quicker, we wouldn't have to worry about routing sounds to the mixer or putting it on the playlist. It's already on the playlist. And at that point, you can move it and arrange it however you see fit. As I said before, there is no right or wrong way for your workflow. So if you just prefer to drag your samples onto the channel rack, or you just prefer to press the plus button, do your thing. Let me show you one more way. Now, another way that you can add an instrument track, especially if you are trying to use a plugin based instrument, you could literally just right click on the track, click on instrument track, and find your plugin that you would like to use. So if you were trying to add an instrument track like, I don't know, Spitfire Labs, you could just right click it, click track mode, click instrument track, and boom, Spitfire Labs is right there for the taking. And it still does the exact same thing. Labs is routed to the mixer, and Labs has a pattern that is created. I hope you find this helpful. On to tip number 2. Trick number 2 is what I like to call control surface automation. If you have no idea what automation is the process of triggering certain effects, such as panning, volume, or an actual plugin based effect at a specific time that you could trigger by drawing multiple plots on a graph. Let me show you an example. For this example, I've dragged in a splice guitar loop that I just randomly searched and found. And I'm going to show you what the process of automating the volume looks like. So a quick way to do it, you can click on this audio waveform at the top left corner of this audio file, and I'll just click volume. As you see, an automation clip popped up, and these are the plots that can be dragged, changed. That way we can adjust them however we choose. And you can add more plots by right clicking it. You see the little points in the middle, the dot in the middle that has an open dot, but as soon as you click it, it becomes filled. That lets you know that it is triggered, able to be used. Right now, I am automating the volume so that it goes all the way down and comes all the way back up. I'm gonna keep it relatively even the whole way. automation can be as simple as that, but that is by far one of the greatest tools in production and arrangement that every DAW has access to. So in most native FL Studio plugins, you can automate every nook and cranny. Sometimes though, you can't automate every single detail of it. If you download and install another plugin, not a native FL Studio plugin, but like a random plugin that you found watching a plugin video, sometimes you wouldn't be able to automate it. Let me show you how you can. As I said, you can automate almost any nook and cranny in the native FL Studio plugins. So as you see, I'm right clicking on every single knob on this Reverb 2 plugin. And in the middle of it, there is the words create automation clip. And you can do this with almost every nook and cranny. I don't know if you can do it with the tempo button. Nope, can't do it with the mid-side button. But literally everything else can be automated. Now let's say we're trying to automate something like this plugin, Finisher Micro. If I were to right click on the big knob right here, the only thing that we see is Learn MIDI CC. Let me show you a way that you can work around that. FL Studios offers you this workaround for things that you cannot automate in a plugin, a very lightweight plugin called Control Surface. This plugin essentially gives you digital controls similarly to physical controllers, where if you move a knob or if you move a fader or if you press a button, it will trigger the assigned parameter. Now what you can do with this plugin, you can add bevels, buttons, checkboxes, digits, sliders, keyboards, X, Y, labels, whatever you decide. But for our case, we're trying to control a knob in Finisher Micro, so I'll add a knob. As you see, they have a bunch of different visual options for it. And I could pick a cool visual option, but I'm just gonna click default. But the only difference between all of these different options is just the visuals of it. All of these knobs and things can be resized as long as this wrench is yellow. At this point, we have a big knob similar to the big knob that we got on Finisher Micro. Only thing that we have to do now is multi-link it to the controller. So if I click right here on this multi-link button, move the knob, you saw that pop-up that showed the surface knob has been moved. And then move this knob, you see another pop-up that shows the Finisher Micro has been moved. And then turn off that multi-link. It gives me 2 remote control settings. The first remote control setting is knob 6. It's gonna ask what parameters would I like to move this by. And I'm not gonna do anything, I'm just gonna press accept. The second one is gonna say amount. And it's gonna ask what controller would I like to use. So I'm going to click this internal controller and click knob 6 and press accept. Wherever the big knob on the controller moves, so does Finisher Micro. And we have made a workaround. So at this point, you can automate the FL Studios plugin. So if I wanted to add Finisher Micro slowly as the song comes, as the loop progresses, it'll sound something like this. And you will see the automation as it occurs. I don't know if I'm a fan of that sound, but you see the concept, and that's all that matters. Control Surface is a lifesaver for me. I often use a mix of stock plugins and downloaded plugins. And sometimes I would like to add a little razzle dazzle like automation on effects plugins, such as UJAM, Finisher Micro, and a bunch of different other plugins. You never know, like ProQ or anything else. If you're trying to add a filter or something like that, and you just do not want to use your stock plugin, you can use Control Surface in order to trigger your downloaded plugin. A few more tips regarding this. With one instance of this plugin, meaning that you do not have to keep adding this plugin multiple times. With one instance of this plugin, you could assign that one knob to multiple parameters. Let me show you. Let's say along with automating Finisher Micro, I also wanted to automate Fruity Reverb 2. Well, the same way how I multi-linked it to the controller, I could also multi-link it to Fruity Reverb 2 by clicking on this multi-link button and then clicking on the parameter that I would like to automate. In this case, I would like to automate the size. That's really all we need to do. We don't even have to move the big knob again because the big knob is already registered in the internal controllers. So as long as I click on the control surface as the controller plugin and make sure that remove conflicts is not clicked. If remove conflicts is clicked, it'll take away the link from Finisher Micro. So I have to make sure that remove conflicts is not clicked. You see they both move at the same time. That's beautiful. One other thing, You could have as many knobs and buttons as you would like to, simply just by adding it the exact same way how we added it before. So if I wanted to add a keyboard or if I wanted to add a button, I could add as many as I would like to, and they are all going to fit on the control surface, and they could be resized to my liking without me having to add multiple control surface plugins. Game changer, I'm trying to tell you. On to number 3. This tip can serve as a workflow and a problem-solving trick. So oftentimes I've worked with clients who aren't exactly sure what they want before they reach out to me. They have an idea, but they would also like to flush out as many ideas as possible and move around different ideas. So FL Studio has this feature on their playlist where you can have multiple arrangements and switch up your chorus section if you would like to, swap the chorus and the verse section around, put a pre-chorus if you want to, but you could literally change all the arrangements while still saving the original arrangement or the multiple renditions of your arrangement. Let's talk about it. At the top of our playlist, right next to the word playlist and right next to all of these knobs, you see the word arrangement. Now, these arrangements can be renamed first idea, or if I wanted to add another arrangement, I could press clone, name this second idea. At this point, I can move around all of the different pieces as many times as I wanted to, still while holding the true value of the first idea. That's a game changer. I made a lot of mashups or DJ mixes while I was in college. And when I tell you, sometimes clients may ask you, well, let me hear what it sounds like in this order. Then they may have that brilliant idea of asking that same question 4 more times, only to discover that they liked the second version the best. But if you did not save every single rendition of it, you're just gonna be SOL. So it'd be very beneficial for you to use this, which is why I said this could be a problem solving and it could be a workflow thing. I do have a disclaimer for this though. This only works for arrangements. So don't think that you can add an effect and then your first arrangement wouldn't have that effect. No, it's going to have an effect on every single audio file. If you change your pattern up, it'll affect every single arrangement that you do. So be careful how you use this. If you would like to have a different version saved, the easiest way to do that is to go to File and press Save New Version. At this point, you're saving a whole new version of your project. Like at the top, my project is named 5 Tips and Tricks. If I press Save New Version, underscore, and a new number would be attached to it. And at that point, I could rename it 5 Tips and Tricks second version. That way I can apply effects on the mixer, or I could switch up the pattern if I wanted to, and it wouldn't affect the entire first version of this, or first draft of this, if I will. On to trick number 4, performance mode. Now, performance mode is a random useful feature that everybody doesn't really use. And I've actually been dying to use this in a performance setting. I actually bought a MIDI pad controller so that I could use performance mode. And performance mode is like top tier. So performance mode is a feature where you can take your stems and trigger them in a live setting or a live arrangement, becoming your own one-man band or DJ. That way it'll give you the feature to perform along with it and switch up the arrangement if you want to do that in a live setting. So this is my track Stirred, and we're gonna make a performance track out of it. As you see, I have the stems for Stirred already listed in the playlist. And these aren't even really the stems. This is just like a condensed version of the stems, just how much of the performance mode that I wanna make. Because I know for this track, I used a live drum set, and I wouldn't wanna control every single aspect of the live drums. It was 2 horns, guitar, and like if we actually looked at the stem breakdown, it was more than just 5 tracks, but I condensed it that way. It's a lot simpler to use for performance mode. So as you see, I have the full song laid out here, but if you were using a beat, it would probably be a lot simpler because your arrangement wouldn't be a full song. It would just be a bunch of different patterns. But in this case, imagine I just have 5 patterns. In order to prepare for performance mode, there's 2 ways you could do it. You can click this drop-down menu on the playlist and just click performance mode, but that's not really effective. As you see, it really didn't do much. So we would like it to prepare for performance mode for us. So I will go up to Tools, Macros, and it's the first thing in the Miscellaneous tab, Prepare for Performance Mode. It says this project will be tweaked for best results in a live performance situation. There's no way to undo it. And as you see, it opened up multiple pads for us. And that's technically where the performance is being taken place, in the pad setting. So I would chop this up so that it actually makes more sense. So first things first, I'm gonna get rid of that intro trail. And yeah, at this point, we have the song structure laid out for us already right here. So now let's actually make it performable. To do that, I'm going to drag the start all the way over, because we don't need that. And I'm gonna chop off this tail because we don't need that. And there we go. We have multiple pads. I'm going to line up the pads with the different sections, starting backwards and then deleting the ones in between. The pads are automatically named, automatically numbered. I'm gonna delete that one. So as you see, I'm deleting these numbers and the end is becoming smaller and smaller. Like now it says pad 13, pad 12. We're going to end with 5 different pads. And now it is set up. I'm going to mute all of these tracks. So the beneficial thing about performance mode is that it works really nicely with MIDI pad controllers, such as the one that I have in my hand. This is a Novation Launchpad S. And as you see, there are 5 pads at the top of our playlist: pad 1, pad 2, pad 3, pad 4, and pad 5. If I were to press on pad 1, the color changes. Pad 2, the color changes. Pad 3, the color changes. Pad 4, and pad 5. And it lines up with the exact same things. Now, I bet you're wondering, why is this one and this one not lit? I have no idea. Sometimes it does that, but it still works. It's just not green. Anyway, if I were to press play, nothing's playing. But if I wanted to trigger all the sounds at the exact same time, I could literally slide down and the entire song would start. Mute everything except the bass. Re-trigger bass and guitar. I'm gonna move on to the verse, full song. Just the drums. That's a game changer right there. That is a game changer right there. So if I wanted to, if I really just wanted to take a solo in the middle of me performing, or if I wanted to freestyle on a microphone and I wanted to loop a particular section, I could literally become my own one-man band or one-man DJ. Now, there are a lot of triggering options when it comes to this. And by triggering, I mean what occurs when you actually press on the sound. You see, when I right click on the track, it says performance settings, and you can see the triggering options. Underneath the press option is set to re-trigger. Underneath motion is set to stay. And underneath trigger sync is set to 4 beats. And on position sync is set to off. Re-trigger means once you press that button, it will start over that sample all the way at the beginning. So if I were to press play, and then press it again, and press it again, and press it again, and don't press it this time, and press it again, that way if I miss it, I can press everything at the same time. So let's say I mute everything except the bass, and I want to add the guitar. As you can see on the screen, the guitar started at the beginning, but the bass is in the middle. So I could press both of them at the same time, and now it re-triggers both of them from the beginning. That's the purpose of why I have it on re-trigger for this song in particular. Sometimes it may not be what you're looking for, but they have a lot of different options, such as hold and stop, or hold and motion, latch, all within the press. And then within the motion, that's talking about what will happen once the sample's over. So right now I have it on stay, where it'll go back to the top of that particular pad. But if I had it on march and rap, it'll go all the way to the very end of the song and then go back to the beginning. If I had it on march and stay, it'll go all the way to the end of the song and then stay on the 5th pad. Granted, you could chop up these pads to however many options that you want them to be, and you can have so much freedom with it. I recommend you checking it out and exploring it for yourself. On to tip number 5, Z-Game Visualizer. Now, a few of y'all may be familiar with the concept of visualizers, but visualizers or visuals are short form videos that most people put to make their beat videos more interesting, or artists use to make their snippet videos of their songs more interesting, instead of creating a full music video for their song or trying to think creatively. They could simply make a 5-second visualizer that they have on loop, a 10-second visualizer that they have on loop. So let me just show you examples of it. Check out this beat that I made. It's called Toy Telephone. Now let's say I wanted to add a visual to that. I could simply go to Z-Game Visualizer and I can add my own image. I can add text. I can add this fog machine, which I did by accident. But I don't have to think that complicated. I could click on the word wizard and it'll replace all of my current visualizer settings. And I'm okay with that just for these purposes. And the wizard will make this so much simpler for me. As you see, it already gave me a background, Neptune Racing. And let's say I don't like to see Neptune. I could click through all of these different options. That way I could see all the different options that they have for me. I could change the title of it to actually say the beat name. I could change the author to say my name. And I could put my beat store as a comment. Right now, Audio Shake is going to the master, but let's say I only wanted to go to the bass. Oh, there's multiple audio shakes. So now you see the visualizers moving on my bass. And there's so many different ways that we could do this. I'm gonna open up the wizard again, and I'm just gonna press the random button. It has different fonts, different backgrounds. I could find media online, or I could add my own media, such as my logo. And it doesn't stop just there with visualizers. You could take this so much further. By I edited the short film, I definitely don't mean I edited the video, because I don't edit videos using FL Studio. I use different programs for that. FL Studio wasn't designed for photos or videos. It was definitely designed for audio purposes. It is a digital audio workstation, which means you can edit audio. With both of the short films that I edited, the director sent me a copy of the film with the camera's microphone. And oftentimes, whenever you're listening to a film and all it has is the camera microphone, it does not sound nearly as good as if you were to record with a boom microphone or something of that caliber. So let me show you what it sounds like with the camera.
Booty gone. I got brakes on to y'all, boy.
Yeah.
I fought it.
Oh my fucking! What the fuck?
This shit Dutch heaven now.
Nigga, I knew I wasn't tripping. I know I smelled some shit.
So the quality isn't exactly too terrible, but it's not good. But I was there recording the audio with a boom microphone, a Rode NT4. And if you would like more information about that, just leave a comment and I'll explain all the whole details surrounding that. But this is what I ended up making the film sound like afterwards.
I got brakes on to y'all, boy.
What?
I fought it.
Oh my fucking! What the fuck?
This shit Dutch heaven now.
Nigga, I knew I wasn't tripping. I know I smelled some shit.
Childish.
Nigga, check your drawers, stank booty.
Major difference, as you can already see. Major difference. And from here, because it is a digital audio workstation, you have the benefit of adding the effects the way how you know how to add them. You have the benefit of layering sounds the way how you know how to add them. So I added background noise, such as cars passing, birds chirping, DJ sounds, all of that within this short film. So very beneficial plugin. And that concludes 5 FL Studio tips and tricks that I feel like you probably didn't know. If you happen to know any of those tips and tricks, you haven't heard it from my explanation. If you didn't know any of those tips and tricks, please leave a like, please leave a comment. If you would like me to go more in depth on any of these tips and tricks, let me know. I'm more than willing to. So I really hope that this video added value to you. If it did, please subscribe, please comment, please like. I'm definitely trying to grow my channel with more content like this. So I really hope that you're receptive of it. I do have other styles of content that I was experimenting with this channel, such as covers, such as beats, such as my own original music. So please check that out. I hope you liked this video. Can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.